Welcome to VU Academy. So today let's learn about the skeletal system. The human skeletal system is made out of 206 bones with cartilages, ligaments and with the joints. So the bones have two components. They are the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. So this axial skeleton has 80 bone with the skull, vertebral column with the rib cage, and the appendicular skeleton has 126 bone, so it's comprised with the limbs, pelvic girdle and with the pectoral girdle. Now let's study about the human skull. The human skull helps to protect the brain and supports our sensory organ. So there are 22 bones made up with the skull. So this skull has two main components. So it's made out of the cranial bones and with the facial bone. So in this slide, let's learn about the cranial bones. So first of all, you all can see in the yellowish color, it denotes the frontal bone. The frontal bone lies in our forehead and in our upper eye sockets. So there are one frontal bone. And in the bluish color, you all can see the parietal bone. The parietal bone is in the either side and it lies in the roof of our skull. There are two parietal bones in either side. And in the orange color, you can see the temporal bones. So these temporal bones contain our ear structures. In the back of the skull, the greenish part denotes the occipital bone. So in the occipital bone, in the second picture, you all can see that there's a large hole. So it's called as the foramen magnum. So this foramen magnum helps to pass the spinal cord. Then you all can see in the base of the skull, it means in the second picture, there's a butterfly shaped bony cavity. So it's called as the sphenoid bone. In the reddish color part, you can see the ethmoid. So this ethmoid lies between our eyes and it forms the part of our nasal cavity. Then the inferior nasal concave, vomer are the other parts that are coming for our facial bones. Now let's study about the facial bones in our next slide. So we all know that we have different shapes. So the reason is because it's due to the arrangement of our facial bones. So this facial bone is comprised with the maxilla, mandible, zygomatic bones, palatine bones, likewise in this picture. So in the yellow color part is the maxilla. The maxilla make our upper jaw. So it contains the teeth. There are two maxillas present in the right and the left side. So they are connected accordingly this manner. Then the mandible. The mandible is represented in the purple color. So it's the lower jaw. So it's the only movable skull bone. Then you all can see the cheekbones. The cheekbones are called as the zygomatic bone. So in the greenish color, you can see the zygomatic bones. Then the nasal bridge is made by the pinkish color bony part. You can see that. Then the lacrimal part is in the light blue color. So it is in the inner eye socket and supports the tear ducts. Then the palatine part, it's in the roof of our mouth. It means in the hard palate area. Then the vomer. The vomer is in the dark bluish in color. So it forms the nasal septum. And the inferior nasal concave, it's in the nasal cavity. Now let's move into our vertebral column. So, the vertebral column supports the body and protects our spinal cord and allows the movement. So, this vertebral body column is made up of 26 bones. So, in here you all can see that the cervical vertebrae present in the neck region from C1 to C7. The C1, it supports the skull, it's called as the atlas bone, and the C2, it's called as axis, allows the head rotation. Then next part is the thoracic vertebrae. There are 12 bones from T1 to T2, so it's attached to the ribs. Then the next part is the lumbar vertebra, so it comprises with the 5 bones. It's in the yellowish color. So it makes the lower back and it helps to bear our body weight. Then the sacrum is in the greenish color. The sacrum is a one bone made out by the fusion of the 5 bones, so it forms the back of our pelvis. Then the coccyx. The coccyx is the tailbone. The tailbone is made up by the fusion of 3 or 5 fused bones. Now let's study about the spinal anatomy. So the typical vertebra is also called as the cervical vertebra. Normally, let's see what are the components of a typical vertebra. It include the body, pedicle, vertebral foramen, lamina, spinous process and the transverse process. Now let's see what are the specific features relevant to the cervical, thoracic and the lumbar vertebra. So the cervical vertebra is the smallest and the lightest vertebra as it supports the head. Then it has a large vertebral foramen. You all can see that because it accommodates the spinal cord. Then the spinal process is bifid in the cervical vertebra. It's a special feature, and here there are two transverse processes. So these processes helps for the transmission of the vertebral arteries. The second one is the thoracic vertebra. So in the thoracic vertebra, uh, the heart shaped vertebral body can be seen, and also there is a long downward pointing spinous process is seen. Then there are costal facets are seen on the transverse process for the attach of the ribs, as its main function is supporting the rib cage, providing stability and limit the movements. Then we can see the lumbar vertebrae in the blue color. So it has a large vertebral body similar to kidney shape, and it's the largest and the strongest vertebra. It lies from L1 to L5 and it makes our lower back. Then it has a short and thick spinous process for the strong back muscle attachment, and there is a large vertebral foramen, but this is smaller than the cervical vertebra. The function of this lumbar vertebra is to provide strength, weight bearing, flexibility of the body movements. Then let's move on to the thoracic cartilage. The thoracic cage. The thoracic cage helps to protect the heart and the lungs, and also it supports for the breathing. It's made out of the 25 bones. So here you all can see that there's a sternum and the ribs. The sternum is also called as the breastbone. So this, in the first picture you all can see what are the parts of the sternum. Here first there is a manubrium and there's a body, and in the small lowest area you can see the xiphoid process. Then in the next slide you all can see that the ribs are made up of 12 pairs. It includes 24 bones. There are true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. So 1 to 7 is directly attached to the sternum. So they are called as the true ribs. Then false ribs are 8 to 10 pairs. So they are indirectly attached via the cartilage. Then 11 to 12 pairs are called as the floating ribs. There's no attachment to the sternum. So let's see what's the summary of the axial bones. So these axial bones have the skull. It made out of 22 bones including 8 cranial and 14 facial bones. Then the vertebral column is made out of 26 bones. The thoracic cage 25 bones and the total 80 bones. Now let's study about the anatomy of the appendicular skeleton. So the first part is the pectoral girdle. It means the shoulder girdle. It is made out of the clavicle and the scapula. For the right and the left side of the arm, it includes 2 clavicles and 2 scapulas. The clavicle is also called as the collarbone. So it connects to the sternum to the scapula. And the scapula is a shoulder blade and it's attached muscles for arm movements. Now let's move on to the anatomy and the bones which are contained in the upper limbs. So the upper limb is made out of the arm, forearm and with the hand. The hand is made out of a specific bone which we called as the humerus. The humerus connects the scapula at the shoulder, and in the forearm, in the medial side you all can see the ulna, and in the lateral side you all can see the radius bone. It's in the thumb side. Then the wrist is made out of 54 bones. There are 8 carpal bones and there are 10 metacarpal bones, and also there are 14 phalanges in the one wrist and the hand in one side of the hand. And so these carpal bones are made out of capitate, lunate, triquistrum, pisiform, hamate, scaphoid, trapezoid, trapezium. Then the metacarpals are made out of 5 per hand and all together as 10 bones. Then there are 14 phalangeal bones, and in both together in right and left hand there are 28 bones. Next, we will study about the pelvic girdle. This pelvic girdle supports our body weight and it connects the lower limb to the axial skeleton. This pelvic girdle is made out of 2 hip bones. The one hip bone is made out of the fusion of the 3 bones. So the first part is the ilium. It's the large upper portion. Then the ischium is the lower posterior portion. Then the pubis is the anterior portion forms the pubic symphysis. So in this manner, by the combination of the right and the left hip, the pelvic girdle is made out of. Then let's pay our attention towards the lower limb. The lower limb is made out of the 60 bones. So in the thigh is made out of the femur. The femur is the longest femur or the femur bone. It's made out of it's the longest and the strongest bone in our body. Then the leg or the lower leg is made out of tibia and fibula. So the tibia is lying in the medial side and it supports for the weight, and fibula is the smaller lateral bone which helps to stabilize our ankle. So in between that there's a knee joint. So knee joint is made up with the patella and with the femur and tibia. So then the ankle and the foot. So this is so here you all can see that the tarsals, the tarsal it means there the ankle is made out of 7 foot bones including the tarsal, calcaneus, navicular, lateral cuneiform, medial cuneiform, cuboid like bones. So all together in right and left foots there are 14 bones, and there are 5 metatarsals per 1 foot, and altogether there are 10 bones. Then there are 14 phalangeal bones for 1 foot, and altogether there are 28 bones. So let's see the summary of our appendicular bones. In the pectoral girdle there are 4 bones, in upper limb 60 bones, lower limb 60 bones, pelvic girdle 2 bones. So there are total 126 bones are made up in our appendicular bones. Let's see the physiology of our skeletal system. So in the physiology, it supports the structures and movements of the body, and also for the protection and for the blood cell production and for the mineral storage and for endocrine function. Now let's see some MCQs on skeletal system. First question: how many bones are present in the adult human body? The correct answer is B, 206. Second question: which of the following is not a function of human skeletal system? The correct answer is D, heat production. The third question: the axial skeleton consists of how many bones? The correct answer is A, 80 bones. Fourth one: the vertebral column is composed of how many bones in an adult? The correct answer is B, 26 bones. The fifth question: which of the bone is a part of pectoral girdle? The correct answer is B, scapula. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.